Hey guys, here we go again, Monday Live. So I don't know if I'm supposed to say these things, but my new streaming platform, all things mafia, prison reform, mafia news station, politics, totally uncensored. So, you know, you're going to hear me cutting loose every once in a while. Things annoy me. I just saw a program. Was this morning, I think it was, where it was gay parade or gay pride or whatever it was. And they were singing, I'm gay, I'm queer, I'm this, I'm that, I'm coming for your children. Bro, I never heard of shit like this. You know, stop that shit. I mean, if you're gay, you're gay. And if you're a tranny, you're a tranny. Enjoy the life, enjoy your sex, enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. But when you're talking like that about kids, do you really think that you're going to get lots of moms and dads and grandfathers and grandmothers supporting you? You're wrecking it for yourself and your fellow gay people. So please stop it. You know, if you're listening to me in any way, shape, or form, stop it.
There's groups called Gays Against Groomers.
Gays against groomers?
Yeah, because the real people that are gay, like the real ones, are against the grooming, going after the children and involving the children. They agree that it's completely inappropriate, and these are pedophiles. They are not like real gay, you know, like living a lifestyle who they are.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not normal. It's not, you know, I mean, I know gay people for 100 years. It's not normal. Gay people don't think like that. I don't know what this new group is or what the hell they're representing. But you're not representing yourself or the people that you're alike in a good way. That's for sure. If that's what you think you're doing, you're totally wrong. So just a little advice. And to my gay brothers and sisters and who are gay, and I have family members who are gay, so I could say brothers and sisters and whatever. You know, tell them don't tolerate that bullshit. And I know you don't. So. You're better than that. So.
Go ahead, Amina, you want to start?
Yeah, do you want to start with last week's questions real quick, Sammy?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Okay, so last week we're going to give 3 quick shout outs, one to Lake Man, one to Chuck Rambo with weekly envelopes. Trapper27 also gave you an envelope and said, hey, afternoon, Skipper. No question, just an envelope for Lily.
Wow, where is Lily?
Where's Lily?
She went on the limb. You know, every time she's missing, the FBI comes to my door. Where's Lily? Yeah, I listen. She's safe, I think.
She went on the lamb. Okay.
She went on the lamb.
That bird, right? Okay, here are some questions from last week, Sammy, that we didn't get to that were in your super chats. JB Weld asks, did you have any dealings with Nielsen or Neil's son Armand? Was he a tough guy as well? I heard he went on the lam but died. Who was tougher, Joe Watts or McIntosh? Did the two ever interact?
Yeah, that's, I guess, 2 separate questions. And one, as far as Joe Watts was a shooter, a tough guy, so was McIntosh. I believe McIntosh was on a whole nother level. He wasn't a serial killer, but he was a tough guy. No games. I mean, no playing around. He had he was with the Colombo family, by the way, Carmine Persico personally. A real tough guy, Irish. He couldn't get made. I think his mother might have been Italian, but his father wasn't. And I knew him good because when I hit the mattresses with them, I was pretty close with him. Good guy. I met Sammy because of him. A guy came to me and said Sammy owned Doc's Bar. And he says, a good guy, you know, when he had a beef with McIntosh in the bar, and they both pulled guns. I knew right away Sammy's in trouble. So I went to McIntosh and I met Sammy first, and I liked him. And I talked to McIntosh and I said, listen, Mac, I like this kid. He's a good kid. He's got balls. He didn't know who you were. So I know how you're going to take this. He said, Sammy, is he with you? He's with me now. Yeah. And he says, oh, then don't worry. No, please, don't worry. I know you a lot of years now. give me your word that he's not going to get hurt. I don't want to tell somebody they're going to not get hurt, and all of a sudden I find, no, Sammy, listen, believe me when I tell you, he's not going to get hurt. Don't worry about it. Okay, thank you. And that's how I met him. McIntosh was a good guy. I liked him a lot.
Great, thank you. Fun for a Reason asks, Sammy, have you ever done drugs?
No. I smoked pot when I was younger. Even when I got a little older, a lot of times I would smoke some pot to chill or relax. And after a day's work or whatever. Not often, but I smoke pot. But I never took any kind of hard drugs. I'm a little bit of a control freak. For me, it's hard because if I get high, then I would hate myself because I'm out of control. And it's not a good thing for a control freak to take. So I never took drugs. And I saw a couple of friends of mine who were heroin addicts throwing up their guts and everything. And I would tell them, bro, is that how you get? Well, until you get the next fix. And that's good, a good feeling. Why the fuck would you want to take them kind of drugs? So, and I'm talking about drugs. I'm going to be talking about drugs in a whole different way pretty soon. I talk against it, but there's a whole thing coming up. I'm going to get really strong about it.
Okay. Luis Zell asks, Sammy, do you know Stevie Blue Licurdo, the smoking gun case?
I do not recall that at all. No.
Okay. Jack S. asks, hey, Sammy, in your podcast, you mentioned that Big Louis Valerio is still alive. Do you guys still keep in touch with each other?
Well, if I do, I get in touch with Nunya, and that's how we communicate.
Okay. David Yu asks, Sammy, perhaps I believe what others said that you were cunning and smart back then, but I think it's necessary to be their way if you wanted to survive in that life. Honestly, who's Danny Trio on the Lee Cole show? Is he Danny? David, I need you to re-explain what this means. Is he Chomo? What is he saying?
Where you at?
A chomo. A chomo. Like, I think that must be a Spanish.
Oh.
It's a child molester.
It's a child molester, a chomo.
Holy crap.
But a lot of Spanish guys, Mexican guys use that terminology. But I've heard it 100 times. A chomo is a child molester, more or less.
Okay.
And I don't know whose show he was on, and I don't know.
Okay. Steve Jackson asks, hey, Sammy, I heard your great stories about DeMeo and Papa. Did you ever hear about any other guys with similar reps in other families who were like those two?
I don't think there's a lot of guys in the mafia in its entirety who are child molesters or serial killers or stuff like that. We don't really tolerate that. So we teach different teaching. We're not for that at all. So I don't think there's many, but there is some. I know there was some tough guys in the Genovese family. Some guys get the label as being a serial killer when they're not. They're just real tough guys, hit guys. I mean, I got labeled with it once or twice. People try to label me with that. And, the meaning of it, if you look at a dictionary, I talk with Anna, does the psychology stuff. It's a totally different thing for being a gang member and being tough, or being in the mafia and being tough, and a serial killer. They're on two different planets. Their brains are in two different planets. So yes, there was some tough guys, maybe not as vicious crimes as him, I don't know. But we don't tolerate it, and that's why he was killed.
Last one from last week. Ryan Brown says, Sammy, I heard where Michael Mancuso is going back to prison. They are looking to fill his position as boss. Do you think Bruno Indelicato would want it?
Well, usually if a boss goes to jail, they usually put an acting boss first of all, unless he wants to step down and walk away from the life. Then somebody would replace him. It's not up to them anyway. It's done through an election. All of the captains elect a boss. You could say, I want to be the boss, Bruno, or the other guys you just mentioned, they can say they want to be the boss, then it goes to an election. You can't just say, you're not supposed to anyway, say, I want to be the boss, and that's accepted by everybody. It just don't happen like that. I heard it happened in Philadelphia, that a guy just declared himself the boss. More than once it happened over there. But it's not supposed to happen that way.
Okay, and then we have a few questions from the Hour Thing. We have Bryce Rains. Hey, Sammy, I was wondering about Frankie DeChico's brother, father, Boozy. Do you have a picture of him or any good stories about him? I can't seem to find hardly any information about him. Thank you.
I don't have any real pictures of him. He was a great guy. I'll tell you this little story. It's funny because it involves the old man Peruta. Boozy bought a brand new canary yellow Cadillac at a Tompkin Cadillac. And he came to the neighborhood. It looked crazy. It looks like a pimp car. So Boozy pulls up with the car. Peruta says, wow, it's a beautiful car. I'd like to buy it. So he says, I just bought the car. It's not for sale. So they decided to go to the track. Boozy gave Peruta the keys, drive, and getting off the highway, there's that big curve. Peruta hit the wall, bounced around on a couple of walls, wrecked the car. And when he looked over to Boozy, Boozy was hanging down. He hit his face on the dashboard. His glasses were hanging below his nose a little bit. He was bleeding. And Peruta told Boozy, are you okay? He said, yeah, no, I'm okay. I think I broke my nose. Peruta turned around and says, okay, you want to sell the car now? So that was a story that went around to everybody. Frankie DeChico loved that story. Boozy loved it too. I mean, that's how mob guys are. You could goof on each other a little bit, and it's amusing and it's funny. So,
Did Peruta go to the Sammy Gravano School of Driving?
oh, it's smart ass. Because yeah, I hit a few cars not too long ago. I hit a bus. My parole says, Sammy, are you blind? How could you miss it? It was one of them big ones that carry about 20 kids. It's fucking huge, this thing, yellow, big black bumper. I hit the bumper. It didn't do any damage. There was no kids in it, thank God. But you got to report it. Whenever one of those things get into an accident, they have to report it. So I hit the curb a couple times. I don't know. So I'm a good getaway driver.
That's the first thing. The first time I got in the car with you, that's exactly what you said. I was like, now I'm a good getaway driver. I'm like, oh my God. Here we go. Here we go.
Got that? Okay, the next one is from, help me, how do we say this name? Shota Zidziguri. He says, hey, Sammy, have you met Phil Leonetti in prison? What do you think of him? Had his flipping somehow affected your decision to cooperate?
No, first of all, his flipping did not involve my thinking and flipping at all. And I knew Phil Leonetti on the street in Philadelphia. I knew his uncle. I won the war for his uncle. I recommended that he becomes a made guy. His uncle made him. I did recommend later on that he becomes the underboss. And I'm not saying that I made it happen, but I did recommend him becoming the underboss. His uncle made him the underboss. And I did about 4.5 to 5 years in prison with him. He's a great guy. I hope to do an interview. My people are talking with his people. And it hasn't happened yet, but I think we're getting close. So, yeah, I know him real good.
Okay, good. George Domiano. Hey, Sammy, how are you? I grew up in Astoria, Queens. I'm 60 years old. In the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of mob guys around. Have you ever been to Astoria? Thanks and love your stories.
Astoria, is that, what country is that in? Is that in New York? No, I know. I must have went in and out of Astoria, but I don't think I ever, hung out there or did anything there. I don't even remember guys from there, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Last one, Mitch Anderson. Hey, Sammy, curious, have you ever thought about what it would be like if you and Frankie took out John instead of Paul? And if so, do you think things would have turned out better or worse? Cheers.
It's a hell of a question. It's a good question. it's one of these questions that you really can't answer honestly. If we would have took out John, we would have remained with Paul as things were. Part of our thinking was to change the life. Paul made a bunch of mistakes. I liked Paul at the beginning, but he did make some serious blunders in the life. So that really didn't happen. Do I think it would come out better? I think it would have been the same thing for me and Frankie, because if we would have took out John, Paul would have been the boss. I don't think anything would have changed for me or Frankie. We were already set in a very good position, both of us with him. So it's a hard question to, it's one of them really hard questions to answer. It didn't happen that way, so.
No worries. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you. Yeah, hypotheticals are really hard to answer.
Well, they are. You know what it's like? If Tom Brady didn't play with the team he was playing with, you think they would have won anyway? Who knows? It's a hard question to answer, those type of things.
So, Sammy, I think this is piggybacking a question that you got asked last Monday. So AR-15 Aimpoint in the super chat said, my soon-to-be husband asked you to explain loyalty to me. Oh my God, I get it. He analyzes everything. He's a pain in the ass, but I love him. And he keeps talking about how nice the 18th Avenue feast was. Did you enjoy the feast?
I did. The 18th Avenue, I was on 18th Avenue in Tallies when they created that feast. It's from to St. Gennaro's Feast in Little Italy. Then Johnny Gambino got an okay to do it on 18th Avenue. I was a little disturbed at first because I felt that I was on by Tallies. I wasn't talked to about it. I wasn't included in it, but it was good. It was good for the people. A lot of the people who were in the St. Gennaro's Feast opened up stands there. It was good for the people. It was good for me, my neighborhood. I didn't live far from it, so I would get stuff, sauce and peppers or calzones or zeppelas and go home. So I liked it. It was good for the neighborhood. They really did it up pretty good, but I really wasn't involved. You ever got that little thing where what do they call those things where the thing is crying, the face is crying? I guess I was crying.
Oh, the marionettes? So you're talking about
No, those little things that we put on the text messages. Emoji, yeah, emoji.
So cute.
So I have a little crying emoji. I would have liked to have been involved more with that and had a little piece of the pie, but sometimes that's how it works.
So this festival, I see it a lot that they use in like The Godfather 3 and The Sopranos. Is this the same festival that they do? Remember when Joey Zaza, say his name, Joey Zaza.
Joey Zaza.
On The Godfather 3 where Andy Garcia takes out Joey Zaza in the streets of the festival. Is this the same big festival?
I think so. Everybody mimics that in movies and stuff because it is very famous. People come from all over the country to go. They know when it's on. I mean, the whole neighborhood just lights up, all the way from one end of Little Italy to the other end, all the side streets, the neighbors all hanging out the windows. It's a festival type of thing, and it's good for everybody. There's very little violence that ever takes place in those places. That's exaggerated in a movie where, they wouldn't want that to happen. We're connected with the church in it. So it was a great thing, and they'll put that in movies and places like that.
It's awesome. Sounds like a blast. Juan Tapia with a very generous envelope for you, Sammy. Hey, Sammy, did you ever wear a gangster suit when you were a gangster with the fedora and the shiny shoes?
Before I was a gangster, when I was a kid growing up, there was a place on 86th Street. I can't think of the name. It was a clothing store that all the gangsters would go to. And when we were kids, we did a little robbery. We made a score. We went right to that store, buying the same shit that, I wore, like a fedora. I look probably like a jerk, fucking 18 years old, walking around with a fedora. But, you imitated them a little bit, the pinky ring, the watch, the fedora. the clothes, and everything he made was for street guys, mob guys, and right across the street there was a place that made custom-made shirts. And then I was becoming a little bit of a big shot. I started getting custom-made shirts, so it was good.
Nice. Thank you, Sammy. JB Weld in the super chat. Sammy, were you around when Castellano was just a captain? And did you know his reputation when he was a captain? And did he have a crew?
No, he was a captain. I didn't know his crew. I didn't know him when he was a captain. I had no contact with them at all. When I got transferred from the Colombo family to the Gambino family, Carlo Gambino was the boss. He was the one who did the negotiating with the Colombo people, and I was assigned to Tato Orello. So I really never knew him. I mean, I heard of him a little bit, but he was more of a business guy. He owned chicken market, he owned butcher shops, his family going back before him when he was a kid. So, no, I didn't know him.
Nice. Thank you, Sammy. Steve Jackson in the super chat. Hey, Sammy, from Southern California here. Ever since you started on YouTube and mentioned Tommy Bilotti being a bully and why guys, not only in the Gambinos, but other families didn't like him, how did he get that reputation?
Well, he was built like a fire plug. I mean, if a couple times I'm walking, I wasn't talking, paying attention. I wasn't paying attention, and I walked, and he stopped, and I bunked right into him. I literally, and I was muscular. I bounced off him. He was really thick, real good with his hands. So was his brother, Joey. Joey was even tougher. Yeah, I mean, he hit you one shot, it put you to sleep. So, but Joey wasn't a bully. Tommy was. He used that stuff, and then he became very close to Paul Castellano. He was close to Paul before he became the boss. When he became the boss, he was his right-hand man, driver, everything. And he used that power. You know, you can use power when you get into a position in a good way or a bad way, bully type of thing. And people have to respect that. So he used it in a weird way. I'll give you an example with him too. We went to a wedding. I forgot whose wedding it was, but there was a lot of street guys there. I went with Sammy, both of us with our wives. I was sitting down. He came up behind me, joking, "Hey, Sammy," put his arms around my neck, that choke hold that they do in cage fighting. And he choked me a little bit, almost to the point where I was starting to lose my breath. But then he laughed and let me go, but that's right in front of my wife. And so Sammy told me, he said, "Sammy, I got a gun with a silencer in the glove compartment. Let's take him in the bedroom. We'll kill him right in the fucking bedroom." He was so mad, Sammy. I said, "Can't do that, bro. This is somebody's wedding. We can't do that. Listen, I ain't never gonna forget that. He thinks who the fuck he is. You're manhandling somebody who's your equal in a way. Maybe I'm not physically as strong as him. But that's not what our life is about. I don't give a fuck how strong you are. I'll put a fucking 38 bullet right in your fucking face, see how strong you are. You can stick your muscles up your ass. But, some guys want to use that size and being a little bit of a bully, and he was like that. So, and his Joey Bilotti, and that's why, I was part of saving it in Joey Bilotti's life. Joey was loved. He was tougher than Tommy, but he wasn't a bully. He always looked to help you, always polite, always good. Break your ass if you fuck with him, but that's what happens. Some people are bullies. Some people conduct themselves the right way. I never try to push my weight around because I had a little bit of a reputation. Even when I got high ranking, I never did that. Because I always thought it's an ugly way to carry yourself. People don't like you, respect you. They may fear you a little bit, but they don't really like you or respect you. So it's a bad road to take.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sammy. Jessica Guess in the super chat. Hi, Sammy. What is your biggest pet peeve? Can we answer this, Jessica?
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve?
Yeah, what ticks you off the quickest?
What kicks me off the quickest? I mean, there's a lot of things. I got a little bit of a temper, so there's a lot of things I got to think of. But one of the biggest things I could honestly say, you know, men and women and everybody in society, when you're fucking with kids, it's just, they're so innocent, really. It just pisses me the fuck off. You know, when I see something like, I went to the gym, my gym over here, and getting back to the Gay Pride week or month or whatever it is, there was 2 women and a guy dressed in all this colorful stuff, and they had 2 kids, a little boy and a little girl, dressed the same way. And they were, while we were coming in the gym, it was Gay Pride, and I walked by, and I didn't say nothing, but it must have read my face. I probably didn't have a good expression. The guy said, "Something bothering you?" And I said, "No, not really." I said, "Nothing. You look very good. No, nothing bothering me." And but it did bother me. And I guess it was evident to the guy and the woman, 2 women and a guy with their kids. I just don't get this, bro.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
It's an illness. And JB Weld in the super chat with a very nice envelope is saying, "Preach, Sammy, salute."
Salute to you too. I thank you so much.
Let's see. Later Gamer in the super chat for you, Sammy. If you had to control a family in New York today, other than the Gambinos, which would you control and why?
You know, if I was around today, the way it is, and it's so screwed up, I would turn around. I would do something like Lucky Luciano did. I would try to turn around and get every boss in the 5 families in New York and say, why don't we make one family? One boss, 2 underbosses, 2 consigliers, 5 administrative spots. The bosses who are there now could be in whatever those spots are. Because if you have one family, it's easy to get along with the rules. It's not one family banging heads with another family. I think it would be a lot easier to control, a lot less problems, a lot less murders, a lot less everything. And you'll survive longer. When you're doing all this other shit, the arguing, who's taking over what union, who's killed Joe Blow, and who's doing this, you're going to wear the government around your neck. And I got to know the government pretty good. I know a lot of ex-FBI people, and I think the world of some of them, I got to tell you the truth. And a couple of prosecutors, I just did an interview with Michael Vecchione, and he was great.
Great guy.
So, yeah, great guy. He really, really is. And I enjoyed the thing. So I think it would be better all the way around for the neighborhoods, for the mob, for the cops. A lot of them don't want to be following us every fucking day. So if there's less crimes, maybe there'd be less. They have different jobs. Let them go after real serious serial killers, child molesters, rapists. Let them do their job doing it that way. Kids missing or stuff, rather than following us around. They can follow us anyway because we're doing certain crimes. But if we are one and we, kind of tone down our crimes, any kind of viciousness like we were talking about before, when you're too fucking vicious, maybe it just shouldn't belong in our mob. You can go belong to something else. Go fight a fucking war somewhere. Or go, So I think if I was around, I think I would try to lead a campaign to all the bosses. And I would tell the bosses it's not for greed. We can share the money or share whatever. There's enough for everybody. And there'll be less and less of us going to prison. There'll be people who won't be hating on us. So we could, I think I would like to try that approach, but I'm not in the mob. It's none of my business. But listen, they're doing some things. I'm proud of them. The guys who are around, I'm proud of them. To be honest, they do stop. They less killings. There's people cooperating, walking all around New York, all kinds of different guys, A-Light and this guy, that guy. And I'm not saying A-Light in a negative way, but years ago, you couldn't do what he's doing and then walk around the streets. You get killed in 2 minutes. So it changed a little bit. I think they're using their common sense. You know, there's a lot of things they could do to make money. Bookmaking, numbers, restaurants, different scams, different schemes, without going crazy. And they won't even get bothered that much. And if they do get caught and bothered, it's not vicious, so they're not going to do a big amount. Life without parole, 20, 30 years. Maybe they'll get 5 years. And who can't do fucking 5 years? Even though I met guys who can't do fucking 5 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Sammy. El Gato, salute, Sammy. Cheers. Cheers us up with a joke. Cheer us up with a joke. Grazie. Y'all's grammar. Come on, El Gato. Sammy University. Come on. Give us a joke, Sammy.
A joke. What joke am I going to give? I think I told mostly older jokes. What kind of joke am I going to tell?
I don't know. I'll ask you another question while you think of a joke.
All right.
You got a lot in there.
All right.
AR-15 aim point again. Hey, I have to analyze everything, Sammy. It is in my blood. She's older than me. I'm 54. She's 66. But I told her that don't mean anything. You're from Philly, I'm from Brooklyn, and everybody answers to New York. So there must be a married couple in the same account, which makes sense.
All right. Listen, it's true. Everybody answers to New York. So, as far as the mafia, but when you're in a marriage, some of the biggest mafiosos are like bitches. They answer to their wives. My wife would hit me with a fucking broom. Not really, but they're everything. We're only as strong as our family, our wives who help us, take care of us. Think about all the times you get in trouble or things go wrong, and these bitches are behind us like 100%. And you got to treat them the right way. So, it's an equal thing. Help her. Hey, women go through a lot, bro. They really, really do. And really showed me after I left the life, my daughter wrote a beautiful book. And I never looked at it through my daughter's eyes or my wife's eyes. I always looked at it through my eyes. So I started looking at it that way. And the women in my family, they went through a lot of shit too. So, and they stood up. Like I said, my wife, we got a divorce. Even after a divorce, I don't think there's a month that went by she didn't send me some commissary money, art books, because I was doing artwork, joke books, magazines, whatever I wanted. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy Easter, Happy Father's Day. So they're good people, bro. You have no idea what they go through. And a lot of them don't whine, and they have babies. They got to put up with babies. But the pain of even having a baby, then raising them. There's a lot of things that they go through. We have to honor them. We could have a good wife or a bad wife, but most wives are good people. Sometimes I think if we have a bad wife, it's a little bit of our fault. We kind of create it. We don't respect them enough, or we don't think of their stuff that they're going through. So, think about it. And being your wife is a little older than you, I'd like to see a picture of you. I mean, maybe that's what you got to do. You ain't getting no young fox. You get even though she could be a fox too. At 66, she could still, stop traffic.
Amen. I think that says a lot too, Sammy, is your nuclear family is still together to this day. The four of you and then the grandchildren, everybody's on the phone every day. I mean, we see it in the office. You guys are tight.
Yeah. We try and stay tight. Like I said, I'm divorced, but it doesn't mean anything. We're tight. We stay together. As soon as there's a problem, boom, we're immediately together. We don't live together. Certain things, it's normal, but I never forget. I could forget this is my wife. She's my ex-wife. I could forget that, but I can never forget that she's the mother of my children. She's the grandmother of my grandchildren, and she does a wonderful fucking job at both. So that pleases me a lot. Sometimes I'm mad at her. I want to bite my tongue. Sometimes I do get a little crazy. Not crazy where I would hurt her. All the time I've been with my wife, whether I was dating or married or something, it's 50-something, maybe almost 60 years. I never raised my hands to my wife once. And I felt like it a couple of times. Because we could get mad. They could get us on the edge. As a matter of fact, my wife threw keys at me one time. I think she threw a bat at me one time. I didn't fight back. I ran out of the house like a bitch.
That's awesome.
Now, I think that's good to go on with your listeners, your male audience, is how do you control that temper? Your wife's in front of you, you're in a heated argument, you want to do something, you know you shouldn't. How do you pull that back?
You pull it back because the person has helped you all your life through, like I said, through hard times and everything like that. She could drive you crazy. She could do something nuts. But if you can't hold yourself back, then it's totally unmanly. I had a kid tell me that there's a law now that if a woman hits you, you could hit back. It might be there. And I answered the kid. I said, "But that's so unmanly. I don't give a fuck about the law. The worst thing you can do is raise your hands to a woman. Now, if she's raising her hands, she knows she can't beat you up or something like that. She's probably so frustrated with you, so, angry that she don't even know what to do. She's losing control of herself a little bit. Keep control of yourself. Push her away, grab her, hold her, hug her, kiss her. She'll stop fucking hitting and she'll stop fucking arguing and fighting. Depends on what you did.
Yeah, we saw a big increase in child abuse and domestic violence when the lockdowns happened in 2020.
Well, and it's understandable. You're locked in a house. There's no recreation. When you're going to blow off steam or locked up like that, you're blowing it at each other. So I get that. But, go out on the patio with her. Sit down, smoke a cigar. Maybe she'll smoke a cigarette. Maybe she'll smoke a cigar too. Have a drink. Chill. Relax. It's not anything you did or she did. It's all this craziness that they're hitting us with. I have a lot of black friends. And they talk to me about these things too. Brian Glaze, I'm going to use his name a little bit. Brian Glaze. Really got a nice guy. I really got to like him a lot. And I listened to some of his shows. I went on shows twice. And the Gangster Chronicles, there's a bunch of guys in California.
Norman Still.
And they, when I sat down, talked with them, they tell me, "Sammy, could you believe all this racist bullshit? They want us to hate each other." And I said, "That's what it is, bro. They're doing weird shit. And they want us to be busy arguing one another." I'm glad you see it. No, they see it, 100%. So I wish everybody could see that. The people who are hurting this country and hurting us, they are liberal elites, very rich, very powerful people. And they want to keep us busy. We're both on the same page. I don't give a fuck if you're black, white, Hispanic, man or woman. I don't care what religion you belong to. We're all together. We're all suffering on what they're doing. And they got us arguing with one another. That's crazy. But sometimes you're frustrated. I'll yell at people sometimes that I want to bite my tongue. Not that I'm yelling at them, they did anything. It's that I'm just frustrated in the day dealing with some people or dealing with this, and I'm walking around with an attitude. And then I turn around and I'll take it out at the wrong person. And you got to check yourself. I've done that. I've done it last week. I think I gave Anna a little apology that I got a little frustrated, and there was no reason for me to, get a little. I wanted more done. She's doing a ton, and I got frustrated a little bit. And then the next day, I grabbed her, I hugged her, I kissed her. I says, "I'm sorry. I apologize." Right?
Absolutely. And it takes some bravado to apologize too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good thing, and you get that off your chest. Understand when you're fucking wrong and when you're making a mistake. Anybody can make a mistake. But it takes a man's man to say, I made a mistake and I'm going to go apologize and this and that and the other thing. So.
And it makes us stronger and closer and a better team. It makes us better.
Yes. And one of my team said once to me, that was rude.
Don't talk to
They're
me like
laughing
that.
because they know who it was.
You have to say it like that.
That was rude.
Rude. Like Michelle Tanner or no, Full House.
Rude.
Rude. Thank you, Sammy. I'm going to jump back in the super chats with J. Marie. Hey, Skip, if I was in your crew and wanted to start a casino or a sports book, how would that be set up and who would get a paid cut?
I don't understand the question. If she wants, it's a she?
J. Marie, it's a guy.
Oh, it's a guy?
How do you start a casino or a sports book? Like, how do you start this? What is it, the Shylocking or the...
A sports book is, in other words, it's somebody who's taking bets
Yeah.
and they're giving it over to an office. Now, in today's age, you really don't do that in the mafia. I don't think they do it anymore. They might. But today you have all those big sports companies. What's the name of some of those things?
FanDuel, DraftKings.
FanDuel, DraftKings. So you can have a sports book and bet with them, and they'll give you a percentage of what you're bringing in. You got to make a deal with them, a company. And it's all legit. It's all square. I mean, and you could do that. If you have enough people betting with you, so you put the bets into them, and you get a commission for that.
Awesome. JB Weld in the super chat with a very nice envelope for you, Sammy. I saw a documentary that blamed gas pipe for all the hits Vic was ordering as boss. Do you think Vic was really getting manipulated? I can't see how Vic would get to that point in life and not be wise enough to sniff out manipulation.
There's a couple of times I sat down with, gas pipe was manipulated, and there's no question about it. And a couple of times he would say, Sammy, I'm not the boss. I says, stop the bullshit. You're the fucking boss. You know that. Anything you tell this guy, he does. So come on, let's get this problem solved. I used to break his balls. But, and he would smirk and smile about it, that he knew he was calling the shots. He didn't force Vic. Vic's a tough guy. Didn't force him, but manipulated him. This is good for us. He's always saying something, he's not bullying him, but Vic isn't afraid of him. They're friends a long, long time. And Gas Pipe knew how to present his case, and he won it most of the times.
Nice. Thank you, Sammy. Rodrigo Paleo in the super chat. Hey, Sammy, share with us what you know about Tommy DeSimone. We know he killed Foxy and Bats. Can you share something? And salute from Brazil.
He killed who?
Foxy and Bats. I think he's talking about the Tommy DeSimone from Goodfellas.
Yeah, he killed Bats. Bats was a made guy in our family, the Gambino family, and we put a ton of pressure on them. Tommy was a shooter. A little crazy. I mean, he definitely was a little crazy. There's where that saying, come in, go get your shoe shine box. He was a shoe shine boy when he grew up. And, and then he got tough. So, but guys would, break his balls. He didn't like it that night. And he wound up killing that guy. So, but he was a tough bastard. No question about it. A little crazy. And, we put so much pressure. Now, I wasn't involved in that pressure, but when I say we, I don't mean me personally, but the Gambino put so much pressure on it. John Gotti, I think, was a little part of that, putting pressure. And, of course, they stayed in the same areas. And Paul Vario, to calm things down, killed him, had him killed. And that's the only way, he tried to dump everything. He said, he did that hit. We think so too. We're not sure, but we're taking him out. That calmed everything down.
Interesting. Just like the movies.
Just like the movie.
So we had a comment last week and it says, hey, did you know that you're in the Godfather video game on PlayStation 2? There's a guy named Sammy the Bull who owns Tataglio nightclub in Little Italy called Sammy's. I was just playing the game and saw it, and I had to tell you.
No, I didn't know that at all.
Sounds like a cha-ching.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that at all. I mean, talking about a guy called, I have a guy, well, I told you about Blaze Gibbs and Brian Blue. He's got a friend, I'm trying to think of his name, Terrence Sammy the Bull Williams. So they got a black Sammy the Bull guy. And I talked to him on the phone, and we may do a little show together. He's got a platform. He wants to, I'll go on his platform. We'll talk a little bit. So I'm working on that. But it struck me funny when Brian Glaze told me, he says, yeah, we got a black Sammy the Bull. So I said, I was laughing. I said, what is that, a black Sammy the Bull? And he told me the guy's name and this and that. A real tough guy. I hear that he did a lot of work. So I gave him a holler, and we may do a show together. And when I do it with him, of course, I'm going to get a copy of it, and I'll show all you guys, my fans, and I'm going to have some fun with him.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, white Sammy the Bull and a black one.
How are we going to... Who's Sammy? Matt Carney in the Super Chats. Although the mafia can be somewhat a ruthless place, can close bonds be made with others, or do you always have to keep one eye open, as it were?
No, I listen, mostly everybody I dealt with or knew or liked, I like tough guys. I like guys who like to be men and act like men. So I was friends with a lot of guys. I wasn't afraid of them. They weren't afraid of me. And you have respect. It's a mutual respect. And a lot of them were good. I'm going to give you a little bit of a crazy story. Wild Bill, he was the underboss. He became the underboss of the Colombo family, and then he was killed. His son, Bill, and is out here in Arizona and spoke with me. And, one time I bought a dog. It was one of those, what do you call those? The big black
Doberman
ones.
Pinscher?
No. The
German Shepherds?
A Rottweiler. I got a Rottweiler puppy. And the thing was gorgeous. And I was going home and I met him, Wild Bill. And we were going to meet to talk about something. And we met. And he said, "Oh, my God, Sammy, where did you get this dog? I've been looking for a place that, good breeder." I said, "I got a guy who's a great breeder. Look at this dog. She's beautiful." And I says, I could talk to him about when they give birth again. He sells them. And I'll get in touch with him. So he said, "Oh, wow, I would do anything for a dog like that." I said, "You really like this dog?" "Yeah." I knew I could get another one, or eventually, so I says, "Here." I gave him the leash. I says, "Take the dog." He said, "You're going to give me the dog?" He just bought it. I didn't take it home. My wife, my kids, they're not in love with it yet. It's a puppy. I love the dog, but if you're not, take the dog. He took the dog. His son told me, you know what he named the dog? Sam. And I felt so good about that. I always wondered, I'm giving a puppy away. I didn't fall in love with it yet. I just got it. It's easy to fall in love with puppies. I think a couple of days later, I would have never gave it up. But I did give it up, and he named the dog Sam. He got killed years later. But, and a real tough guy, super tough guy. So I get along with people like that. I go to the gym. There's guys work out there. Guys talk to me. Everybody. I get along with people like that. That guy with his all his outfits on with the kids. I don't get along with him too well. But tough guys, I don't know. I don't seem to have too much of a problem with them.
Like you said, it's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Dave C. wants to know, Sammy, do you miss Brooklyn? And did you see someone just did a video where they went inside Tally's, which is now a Chinese restaurant?
I have so many good memories, family, people that in Brooklyn. I'll always miss it. I love it because of those memories. But Brooklyn changed a lot. All my family and friends who were from there said, it's not the same, and you wouldn't like it as like it is. It was more community oriented. There was a lot of Italians, some Irish, a lot of Jews. and we all got along. It was like a great neighborhood. Like you're saying about the feast up on 18th Avenue, we had a great neighborhood. So I miss it, those times and stuff like that. But I wouldn't want to go back now. The way I hear it is. And what was the other part of that question?
Did you know that Tally's is now a Chinese restaurant?
Oh, yeah. And I saw a video, I think it was a woman who went there, and she said it's haunted, and she went in and interviewed the people, and they hear shadows, and they see shadows, and they hear things in the basement, all kinds of crazy shit. And there was, people murdered in there. Sammy was killed there, not by me and my crew, but by another crew. Most of you people know that story. And Michael the Bat was killed in there. But I don't think it's haunted or anything like that. But I saw that video, if that's the one you're talking about.
Thank you, Sam. Melissa is chatting in, and she's saying a lot of people in the chat are asking, what was your first car that you owned?
A 1963 Chevy Impala Super Sport convertible, white with black interior and a black roof. I think I was 17, 16, 17, I think I was. And I went to the Chevy dealer. I used to see this Chevy sitting in the showroom. And I was like, oh my God, when I'm 18, 19, we had made a little bit of a score. And I went in there and I said, how much is this car? It was $3,200. Fully blown out with everything. And that's how far back I go, $3,200. Imagine that. But anyway, I had, I think it was $1,200 from the score. So I was going to put down the $1,200, which brought it down to $2,000. They would give me $1,000 loan. So I went to my father, my mother, and I told them and everything. I said, I got the one that's right in the showroom. I put them in the car with me, their car, and I drove there. They loved the car. So my father co-signed for the loan. He didn't get me, it was like a $1,500 loan. He gave me a $500 gift. So we had enough to buy the car for $3,200. I love this car, bro. I used to drive around the top down with little girls.
The stabbing wagon?
Little cutie pies in the car with me, driving around like a little peacock. But I loved it. And then when I became 19, I got drafted into the Army. I'll show you where my mother and father's head was at. My father knew that I loved the car. He covered it. He started it every once in a while. He disconnected the battery, all that bullshit. Paid the payments for the 2 years I was gone. When I got out, the car was waiting for me right in front of the house.
Wow.
Yeah. My father was a good man. My father, my mother.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, to do all of that, they co-signed. They did all these things. They didn't even sell the car. They just kept it for me.
That's awesome. Parents are the best, dude. That's where that's where you learn to be the man, from your dad.
Yeah. Well, I listen. I learned a lot from the mafia, from being in gangs, and a lot of friends and stuff. But I did learn a lot from my mother and father that never ever left me. I saw how they treated their people at a factory. It seemed like all the women who was working in the factory, they were almost all related and stuff like that. And my mother and father really took care of them. Not like they were family, the whole place. They loved my parents. So when I run a business, I think of them, and I think how the people idolized my family. So my father, my mother. Yeah. Even they had some Jewish contractors in New York who loved my mother. She was great at seamstress. So they made them open up a factory, and they gave them work left and right. And there was always a good relationship with that. And so that was a good thing too.
That's awesome. We had a comment come in about the Michael Vecchione interview, how pretty morbid and graphic that it was. But the comment was, I just canceled my dental appointment. Fuck the implant. It's a pretty morbid. It's great.
I thought the same thing. I made a joke out of it. I don't know if they cut it out or they left it in. I made a joke out of it, but it was morbid. But this guy did cases and stuff that I thought was worthy of hearing, stuff like that. And I cut a little bit, I edited a little bit. He's a great guy, and he wants to join me now in prison reform. Now, he knows a lot of things are unjust. He went after illegitimate cops or cops who did things wrong. So, I take my hat off to him. Mike Vecchione's a great guy. He's got 3 books he's done. I'm really interested in, if I get enough connects in Hollywood, I'd like to do his movies with him, for him, or whatever. And he wants to join, help me and the warden with the prison reform. And like I said, I'm looking for a couple of more people. As soon as I get the time, I'm going to start that prison reform, push that. I'm already starting another big project with drugs, and it involves family members and different things, and I'm working on that to try and really put a push on it. I just can't understand how we're accepting that 100,000 fucking people, kids in our life, men and women, every nationality, every race, anything, religion, are dying in the streets, and we're not doing anything. How we're not shutting the border. I just, every time I get on this subject, it drives me crazy, because I don't understand it. You know that the border is, drugs are pouring in. I saw an article the other day, well, a week or 2 ago, that there was a kid walking across with a backpack. They don't search them, they don't do anything anymore. Something the kid did, they stopped the kid, they were going to search him. They opened up the backpack. It was loaded with fentanyl. I don't know how many pills was in there. And if they didn't stop him for something else, he would have walked right through it. So if that, God knows how much is coming right through. Unstopped, unchecked. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And the result of that is hundreds of thousands of people, or 100,000 people, are dying. And it nauseates me.
And the kids too. They say kids aren't just a one-time profit. Like, you sell a pill, you sell a drug. The kids, what they say with the trafficking, when they're bringing them over, that they can use the kids 10 times a day. The same kid, the one kid, can turn 10 profits a day.
Right. And all of that is crazy. I mean,
Crazy.
I just watched a program just the other night about fentanyl going into the prisons. And there was a mafia guy, not an Italian mafia guy, but I don't even think he was a cartel guy. He was, I think, Polish or some shit. And he was getting fentanyl going into the prison and getting people hooked in the prison who are going to come out. They're only 6-8 months, a year away from getting out. They're hooking them up, knowing they're going to go out and have another kid who's going to become a drug dealer for them. This is fucking crazy. These things are going, I don't know if that's for real, but if these things are going on in our country right under our nose, this is nuts. Really, completely nuts.
I agree. I think a lot of your viewers agree too. They're all on the same page with you, Sammy. The chat's just flying with support with what you're saying. The hour did fly by, Sammy. We have 2 minutes left, and I want to get to as many super chats as we can. Sean Denver 77. Sammy, you got me hooked on Peaky Blinders. If you were Tom Shelby, it's a wonder you're not dead from stress.
Listen, I love that program. I started watching it. I would watch 2 or 3 episodes. They're almost an hour apiece. A couple of them at night. I'd get up the next morning. I was living in my daughter's house. I'm making a little breakfast for myself, and I watched another episode. So I was banging it out left and right. And now, from what I understood, they're making a movie, an actual movie about it.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that to come out. So. Yeah, I thought it was great, and I love this kid,
Cillian Murphy or
Cillian Murphy. I love his look, how he talks, walks. I'm obviously working on a couple of movies. I would love to make this kid play me in the Johnny Keys movie. I would love it. I would really love it, because I think he can play me to the T. I'm a little better looking than him, but so
We have a chat from Timothy. Hey, Sammy, thank you so much for being an inspiration for me to be brave and bold. You've helped me go through a lot.
I appreciate these remarks that come in. I get them on my personal phone. I get them all over the place, and I really, really, you have no idea how much I appreciate remarks like that. If I can help people through this crisis, I'm going to do like I said, I'm working on something big. I'm going to do everything in my power to try and stop these drugs. And you know, the craziest thing is, I don't know if these things are just made to kill the kids and wreck the whole country, or because they're not going to wind up to be hooked on this. You know, you get a young kid or you get somebody snorting coke, and now it's all loaded with fentanyl, and they don't know that. That's how they're dying.
Yep.
So you're not trying to make this kid a drug addict. You're just looking to kill him.
Yeah.
He can't survive that. So I just don't get the whole picture. I will eventually. I will.
Yeah. Definitely a different party scene from 10, 20 years ago. I mean, even when I was going out a lot, you just take a pill and, we're going to have fun or whatever. You know, everybody was doing it. But
Smoke
now,
a joint, maybe even going to extreme, a little coke or something like that. And I'm not saying nobody died from that, but not like this drug. This is crazy shit. You can't get off it either.
No.
It's extremely hard to get off.
Well, now the kids are dying from the M30. It's some little blue fentanyl pill, but they think it's a party drug or whatever.
I just saw that too. I have no idea what that is yet, but I just saw that too. You know, at night I sit down. Sometimes I go through and I listen to all these stories. I throw some of them out. I think it's conspiracy theories or garbage. But there's so many of them that are right on the money. I'll see a senator asking somebody questions, and you know the senator's legit. This guy is a government official. He's legit, and you could see him lying right through his teeth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty shady, these answers that they're giving. Let's do one or two more. Eduardas. Hi, Sammy. You mentioned that your father's Goomba, Suvito, was a made member in the USA. What family did he belong to, and how did he meet his end?
Yeah, I don't know how he met his end, and I don't even know if he was a made guy in the United States. He was made in Italy for sure, and he had a lot of respect over here. I don't know what family he was close to, but I don't think he was actually made here. I'm not sure, but I know he was a made member in Italy, and that's what I had heard. And my father actually knew him there. That's why they were Gombardas. They came from the same town in Sicily, and my father was always friends with him and close with him, had that relationship back then. My father didn't come. My father was an illegal alien. He was in Canada. He jumped ship in Canada, crossed the border in Canada, came into the United States. I think it took him 30 something, 40 years, whatever it was, to become an actual citizen. He had a congressman talk for him because he was legitimate. You know, people loved him, and they finally got him in, and he became a citizen. So, and he was friendly with, you know, when he came in, the Italians, they grabbed him, they introduced him to my mother's family, and it was like, you know, a scheduled date. And he dated my mother for a while, married her, and then I don't know exactly what they were doing, but I came out of somewhere. I don't know. They got in touch with a stork who brought me.
That's awesome. Okay, last super chat. And don't forget, guys, if we don't get to your super chat today, Sammy will answer next week at the top of the hour, right when we begin. So John Carl is asking, have you ever been in contact with the real Sopranos, the De Cavalcante family from Elizabeth, New Jersey? I heard that Vinny Ocean, the real Tony Soprano, killed a property developer for John Gotti.
I know. He wasn't Tony Green. He was another first name, Green. I know who he is. He became the underboss of the family. And he got busted. He flipped, and he went to Texas, I think, and they stopped him in a car. He had $2 million in the trunk. I knew him. I hate to say this, I wasn't crazy about him. I wasn't a fan of him. I don't think he was anything like Tony Soprano. I know some of the guys there for sure. I knew quite a few. You know, they got caught talking in a car. Me guys. And they were saying, you know, they were bragging that this is about us and all this other bullshit. And I think it was an agent or somebody talked to me about the tape, and I told them who was in the car. They couldn't believe I knew the people, the real people who was in the car talking about it. It was this guy, Joey Tin Ear. He was deaf in one ear. You know, he's always going, huh? So he called him Joey Tin Ear.
Tin ear?
Tin Ear, yeah, tin ear. Because he couldn't hear a fucking word you were saying. You know, I got one guy one day, we were even actually in jail together when I got pinched in 90. And he says, watch this, Sammy, watch this. So I was standing there, went over to Joey. He says, Joey, you're such a fucking asshole. Yeah. He didn't even know what the fuck the guy said.
That's awesome.
So that's mob guys too. You know, there's a whole nother side of us joking, laughing, having fun, and, you know, we goof on each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many likes do we have, Ricardo? Oh, hell no. There's over 1,000 in the chat.
You gotta sing, Sammy.
Oh,
Everybody loves somebody sometime. I can't do this whole thing. Now, every time I sang that once, now people are texting me demon songs. I'm not a singer. I can't sing. So I'm not going to sing all those songs you sent me. I appreciate it, but...
Fly me to the moon.
yeah, fly my sister to the moon.
Hey, Sammy, real quick, can you give a couple of birthday shout outs to @Leon? He's from New Zealand. And then Crystal, her birthday is tomorrow. Crystal Kennedy?
Crystal Kennedy.
And Leon from New Zealand.
Leon from New Zealand. Hey, bro, I've seen a bunch of movies that they made, and they used New Zealand, you know, for the movie. I love New Zealand. It is gorgeous. I mean, I'm not sure if it's really that gorgeous but in the movies, I loved it. I would love to travel there. I'm on parole. I can't get out of the country, but I would love to go to Italy. I'd love to go to New Zealand, Australia, Brazil. There's so many places I would love to visit, but I guess, that's in my bucket list. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but, that's great. And who's the other girl?
No, it was Leon from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And Crystal Kennedy.
And Crystal Kennedy. Now, I don't know exactly who you are, Crystal, but your family, Kennedy,
Not that Kennedy.
Oh, not that Kennedy? I was going to say, I may be doing a video about the Kennedys and the Kennedy's assassination. You know, I know some stuff, and a couple of guys, they're doing a movie now, and a couple of guys were asking me about, questions and things I know. And I said, well, I don't really disclose that stuff. And I talked, believe it or not, with an FBI agent today who was a powerhouse. And I asked him for if I could get some information, some documents and stuff like that. How do I get these documents? And what do I do? Freedom of Information Act, all this shit. And the girls were sitting there, and he said, remember when we questioned you? I said, yeah, and we were talking about a few things. He said, remember when we asked you about who killed Kennedy, President Kennedy? I said, yeah, I do remember that. And he said, you turned around and said, you guys killed him. And he started laughing while he's telling me the whole story. I told the girl this a long time ago, that's what happened. And so it was really funny the way it came out. But I'm thinking seriously, I do know a lot about it. My guy Tato was a powerhouse. He was a lot stronger. I'm realizing it now, I'm finding out now how fucking powerful he was and why. And I'm going to do a video. I did videos, talked about Tato, but I'm going to do one in the very, very near future of, I just found out so much more about him and how powerful he really was. And now when he talked to me, he would say, we did this, or I did this, or we did that. You know, I always thought when he was saying that, he said, we, meaning the mafia. Of course, I use that terminology to we. That doesn't mean I did it, I mean the mafia. So I found out that he did a lot more than just saying we as far as the mafia. I think he was involved in quite a few things. Nothing bad. I'll never hurt him. I'll never put him down. But I just realized now that when we were sitting there and I was a pup listening to him, some of the conversations that he was talking to me about and things he was talking to me about, he knew firsthand. It wasn't something that he heard or somebody told him. This is stuff he knew firsthand. And I'm just realizing it now, how strong, how powerful he was. And I have more respect because he didn't tell me the whole thing. He told him we did it, oh, this happened, this is why. So now I knew he was talking from real knowledge, not just a conversation. So I'm working on a lot of things in the very near future. I can't wait until this writer's strike is over. You know, I'm chomping at the bit. I'd like to go to there wherever the negotiations are so I can help them negotiate this strike. I dealt with the unions a lot. You know, I go there with a 38. I could straighten it out in a day or two, for sure, I think.
Making an offer they can't refuse.
Yeah, I'll make them an offer they can't refuse. All right, guys. Listen, I love you guys. I was snorting a couple times, but I apologize. I'm tired a little bit. So I love you guys. I'm going to see you soon. You'll be hearing from me constantly. And my live streaming platform is going to get better and better. If you join, be a little patient. All kinds of stuff, I give you my word, is going to come out on that stuff that you love. So, adios, motherfuckers.